How do you get unstuck when you're solving a baffling puzzle? Today, some tips on what to try as well as a puzzle to try them on. Welcome to the crew. Welcome in. If this is your first time here, thanks for joining. I'm Cyrus Cheddarton, and with a few friends, we'll share some puzzle solving strategies. We'll call today's type of video a notebook episode, where we cover information about puzzles. And, of course, it will include a puzzle as well. But first, the answer to the previous puzzle. The following segment will be a spoiler for the puzzle shown here. If you haven't yet tried the puzzle, and you don't want to see the answer, skip ahead in this video to the time shown on screen for today's puzzle. Now, I'm going to reveal the answer and how to go about solving it. Are you ready? Alright, let's go! In this puzzle, the names of television shows had been altered. You got to see a series of title cards, but many of the words had been substituted. And that is the key idea, substituting words. There was also this incantation, which seems like it might be giving directions. What's especially notable, though, is how many words from the altered show titles also appear in the incantation. Let's make that connection. If we combine it with the idea that the titles have word substitutions, then we have a path to decode the incantation. Let's run through the shows. Here's what those titles should have been. Each underlined word corresponds to a substitution that we need to make in the incantation. Hopefully you knew at least a portion of these. The others you might be able to guess or Google. After all of these substitutions, the incantation now says, TV shows now featuring unmasked game, with the Queen before current House of Orange reign. Boy Wizard, last name. Those things together form a British person. New instructions, though still a bit cryptic. The middle two lines are cluing specific pieces, while the last tells us to put them together to name a British person. The House of Orange is a royal lineage. The monarch before the current ruler was Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands. The boy wizard is perhaps more obvious, with the widely known character of Harry Potter. The incantation specifies his last name. Putting those together, we get Beatrix Potter, a British author, and the final answer to the puzzle. You had to make a few leaps in this one without specific instructions, so it was a little trickier. Nothing was intended to be misleading. For example, if you thought the Witch Doctor song reference was anything more than a joke, I was careful to say, what Tommy Rot, he was useless. How'd you do? Part of the goal of our workshop here is to practice puzzle solving skills, to challenge ourselves without getting completely lost. Today's solving strategies are especially useful with open-ended puzzles where you may not know exactly what you need to do, such as you might find in escape rooms or puzzle hunt events. This is in contrast to well-defined or traditional formats like crosswords, where the path to reach the solution is known ahead of time. I hope these tips will help you navigate the more ambiguous problems and conundrums. Conundrum? Never mind. Let's get started. I've grouped these tips together based on what kind of situation you find yourself in with the puzzle. Let's say you're looking at a group of numbers. Try converting the numbers to letters to see if it spells anything. Replace 1 with A, 2 with B, and so on. This is a simple alphabetic cipher that shows up frequently. Rarely, you'll also find it going the other direction, converting letters into numbers. If that doesn't work on your set of numbers, try seeing what elements they correspond to on the periodic table or some other well-known numbered list like US presidents, for example. Now there should be some sort of hint, even if it's subtle, that you're dealing with elements, presidents, or so forth, just so you aren't guessing what they map to. Now some possibilities if you're faced with a numbered list of things. Try using the numbers to sort the list into that order. Does anything new emerge from the list? Does ordering matter in the puzzle that you're working on? Another idea is to use the number to count into the specific word to extract a letter. Combine the letters extracted from each item to make a word or phrase. This technique is called indexing, and it's common in puzzle hunt style challenges where you need to extract some final answer.
Let's see what things we can try if there's a pattern of marked and unmarked, black and white, or otherwise divided things. If it's in a sequence, try reading it as a binary number. You might also see if it corresponds to an ASCII letter. ASCII is a common computer encoding for basic text characters. Be especially aware if you see numbers around the range of 65 to 90, which are the ASCII capital letters. If things are in a grid, try reading it as Braille. Each Braille letter fits into a 2 wide by 3 tall grid of dots. If they're in a grid, also try looking for shapes, including letters and numbers. Sometimes the answer will be literally drawn out.
Sometimes you're partway through a puzzle and you wind up with a batch of letters that don't seem to make any sense. What to do? If they are only I, V, X, L, C, D, and M, try reading them as Roman numerals. Then you'll have a number or a list of numbers. At least that gives you a new problem to work at, right? Does the letter series make sense if you flip it around and read it backwards? It might suddenly become more intelligible by reading things in a different direction. You can also try anagramming the letters, rearranging them to see what you can find. Now, in my opinion, the need to anagram should always be hinted at by the language of the puzzle. Randomly anagramming everything possible in a puzzle is just a chore. Sometimes you wind up with a list of words or phrases. These could be names, items, words found in the puzzle, or anything else. But you're stuck trying to figure out where to go from there. Try looking at the first and last letters to see if they spell something. These are called acrostics if it's the front letters, and telestics if it's the ending letters, in case you were curious. Try looking at the word list as a spelling ladder or a word search. This quickly becomes a very large search space, so there should be some sort of hint in the puzzle's instructions if you need to do this. If the listed things seem related, try looking for either what's missing to complete a set or whether one of them doesn't fit with the others. Finding the extra word from the set's connection might be the answer. Finally, if the listed things vary in one particular way, such as word or letter count, see what info you can extract from those differences. Similarly, look for things like sets of letters that are in common between words. This strategy is very situational, but still an angle worth considering.
Some puzzles will give you a larger block of text or a set of sentences. Here are some things to look for if you're trying to derive hidden meanings from them. Look for unusual words or unusual phrasing to see if you can unlock a pattern. Esoteric vocabulary betrays deliberate construction, a cromulent clue. Look for irregularities, possibly in formatting, spelling, or punctuation, to see if that makes a pattern. These things might flag certain words or letters which you're supposed to pick out of the text and assemble. Look for distinctive phrases or terms that crop up. They might be lyrics, quotations, book titles, place names, or similar. If you have something like this which isn't immediately familiar to you, Google it, see what turns up. Unless the event or puzzle specifically prohibits using online resources. For puzzles here with the crew, unless we're doing trivia questions, Googling is fine.
Here are some tips for a few more specific puzzle situations you might face. If you have a series of long and short symbols or words, see if it can be read as Morse code. This is one of those things that tends to inevitably show up in puzzle events and escape rooms if you do enough of them, so watch out for it. If you're given a paper with little boxes or blanks, assume that you need to fill them with letters unless told otherwise. If the puzzle comes with an answer sheet, that's really a guide to you as to what form of answer you're looking for and how many letters it'll have. If you have a phrase which sounds like a clue or question, try to figure out what it's referring to, using Google if needed, assuming online tools are allowed for the puzzle or event you're doing. As mentioned, that's fine for puzzles here. If you have an unrecognized photo, also remember Google has a reverse image search tool. Finally, we can interpret the structure of the puzzle itself to figure out where to go. We'll call this metagame reasoning. I consider this to be a valid approach to use in solving, particularly if you're stuck. What info was provided to you which you haven't used yet? This might not apply to these videos where we have some extra stuff for presentation and silliness, but written puzzles will rarely have extraneous information. If the puzzle introduced some mechanic, have you applied it to everything possible? For example, if the first part of the puzzle showed taking halves of words and reordering them, can that transformation be applied to other parts of the puzzle? Can it be applied to the instructions? It's worth a shot. Back solving. Do you know anything about the answer which helps you narrow down the possibilities? For example, if you have answer blanks, you may know how many letters are in the word you're trying to get to. Does that match anything else in the structure of the puzzle or a partial answer you've got? You might find a connection. Good luck. There you go. Now you have a whole collection of tips you can leverage depending on what you're facing. And one bonus hint specific to puzzles with the crew here. I do not tend to create math-heavy puzzles. Prime numbers? Sure. Arithmetic? Fine. But if you're trying to expand a Taylor series or convert to base 12 or something like that, you're probably headed down the wrong track. Hopefully, all of these tips will help you explore even the most obtuse puzzles. Now, today's notebook video also contains a puzzle. You might have noticed some suspicious things as we went through the presentation. If you apply the given tips, you'll find the answer. Today's puzzle also demonstrates layers where you have to get an intermediate answer and then keep going to find the final answer. Your final answer today will be a 2-word term for the subject. If you found this video fun and these tips useful, please do like the video. If you enjoy these types of challenges, consider also subscribing to the channel. That's a great way to support us. It also means you'll get notified when the next video appears, which will include the answer for today's puzzle. Much appreciated. Until next time then, have fun exploring puzzles out there.